So you're thinking about making a move to Tehaleh. Well, today's gonna be a special video. We've all seen all of the beautiful things that Tehaleh has to offer, just like this, the mantle, the views of Mount Rainier and everything else. And there is so much information on the internet that makes Tehaleh look absolutely perfect. Today, I'm about to flip that on its head. I am gonna share with you the top 5 things that I hate about living in Tehaleh from someone who's been here for the last 2 years. So if you want to see another side of the perfect master plan community, stick around. This video might help you figure out that Tehaleh is the right place for you, but it also might help you to not make a huge mistake. And we're getting after it right now. Hey, just want to remind you guys, Chris, myself, and our team, we're getting phone calls, texts, and emails every single day from people just like you looking to make their move to Tehaleh and the surrounding areas, and we absolutely love it. So whether you're looking at making your move in the next 3 days or the next 3 months, shoot us a phone call, text, or an email so we can help you make that smooth move out here to Tehaleh. And if you want to know everything going on right here in the neighborhood and in the greater Tacoma area in general, smash that subscribe button so you can be the first one in the know. All right, number 1, the first thing that really stands out to me personally is there's a major lack of public transportation. Now, while Tehaleh is about a 15-minute drive into Bonney Lake, the nearest town, it is basically impossible to get a ride anywhere. There is 1 or 2 guys out here in the neighborhood who will give you a drive out to the airport that run their own car services, and they're absolute lifesavers if you need it. Otherwise, you're pretty well out of luck. If you need a ride to the airport, there's a solid chance Uber's probably not gonna come out here. There's a solid chance Lyft is probably not going to get out here. Even worse, if you're someone in need, we've experienced this personally. Our son has cerebral palsy and works at Costco, which is just down the way, about 17 minutes from our house. While Pierce County does have public transportation that allows people to move freely throughout the county, they will not come up the hill and give Brogan a ride. So a 19-year-old with a disability who cannot drive, the county will not send a van out here to get him. Instead, what they've told him is if he was able to get down to the nearest bus stop, they would give him a ride from there. Of course, this bus stop happens to be about 2 minutes away from Costco. Probably not gonna want to be walking 4 to 5 miles before you can get a ride. This is a really big issue for a lot of people out here. While about 80% of folks who live in Tehaleh do work from home, there is a lot of travel needed in and out. And especially if it's something like we mentioned before with the airport, where you're maybe not wanting to park your car and spend $200+ for parking for a week at SeaTac, a ride is just damn near impossible to get unless you just happen to luck out and someone who drives for Uber or Lyft lives in the neighborhood, or one of the couple guys that does car services happens to be free here. And look, God forbid if there's inclement weather, listen, if there is an inch of snow on the ground, there is no public transportation getting out here. You are stuck, you are staying in the neighborhood. So if you would ever plan on using any public transportation to get around at all while living here in Tehaleh, this is a huge negative and something that I think you should really consider. Number 2 on our list easily has to be proximity to major cities. One of the biggest selling points that was sold to me about moving to Tehaleh was that it splits Seattle and Tacoma. As a real estate broker, personally, this seemed like a huge win because this gave me access to 2 major metros to work in. I could go one way and do appointments in Seattle, or I could go the other way and do appointments in Tacoma. I can't think of anything better than that, right? Now, while that technically was true, and Tehaleh does split Seattle and Tacoma, it's not quite as convenient as what a lot of people make it out to be. See, again, like we talked in point one about public transportation, transportation again is an issue here, because while it does split Seattle and Tacoma, it's about 46 miles away from Seattle. And it's about 21 miles away from Tacoma. So if you want me to translate that for you, that's about an hour and 15 minutes into Seattle and somewhere between 35 to 45 minutes into Tacoma one way. So if you're going to be working in the city, either one, you better plan to just have that extra time allotted and booked in, because you're going to need it. And on top of that, you deal with things like major construction down the hill here, which can add 20-30 minutes onto that drive. So you're not really actually close to Tacoma or Seattle. You're actually close to Bonney Lake, a town of about 20,000 people that has the 410, and that's pretty much its primary road that has anything to do, eat, or play on it. So you don't really have anything that is super close. In fact, living out here, if we were to forget a gallon of milk, that's it. We're just not going back till the next time we go into town. I try to actually schedule my days around when I leave Tehaleh. Once I come back, I am done and I'm not going back out, because it is so far to access literally anything that you need. So again, if you're someone that maybe works from home, or you can schedule yourself really well, or maybe you don't need to go to either large city on a regular basis, that might be a really great offset for that. But if you're someone that's got to travel on a regular basis to both cities, it's not as sweet as it sounds. Now, along with being pretty far away from either metro, I would say the next biggest problem with living at Tehaleh relates kind of directly to that, and that is going to be traffic. Now, traffic really inside of the neighborhood here isn't too bad. We do have people that park on the streets, but it doesn't really cause any congestion. People are super courteous. Traffic inside of the neighborhood is absolutely fine, especially for a large master plan community. But once you get out of here, it's a whole different story. Going down the hill the last 2 years has basically been hell. If it's raining, people forget how to drive. If it's snowing, about half the cars can't get up the damn hill anyway, so you're gonna have a lot of wrecks, accidents, and things along those lines. But furthermore, just getting down the hill, there seems to be a constant state of construction that apparently has been going on forever. See, at one point there was actually another road and they switched over that road. Now they're expanding the bigger road. The worst wait we've had so far getting down the hill was 55 minutes. And I'll be honest with you, I started my timer a little bit later than I should have. So probably closer to an hour. I tell everybody in all these videos, plan everything in minutes and not miles. But sometimes getting out of Tehaleh doesn't even allow you to plan in minutes, not miles, because even if you look it up on GPS, there's no telling how long you're gonna get stuck going down the hill. And then if you make it down the hill, right in front of 7-Eleven, there's a super dangerous intersection, and it seems like every single day there is some form of an accident, again, holding up traffic. And then if you get past that, the 410 is, short of those weird random hours, for the most part, it's not big enough to handle the traffic flow that it has on the day-to-day. And so you're really going from stoplight to stoplight to stoplight. And it can get super aggravating, especially if you have somewhere that you really actually need to go. The infrastructure in Bonney Lake itself is just not set up for all of this. I really feel like building this master plan community in this town overwhelmed all of the city's resources. It overwhelmed all of the city's streets, and it's overall causing a huge problem. Now, in the last point, we talked about traveling to Seattle. When we look at traffic, if you're heading out to Seattle for work in the morning, the exit to get on the 167 to head up to Seattle is backed up for multiple exits. In fact, the gym that I go to, Fitness Quest, when I'm leaving in the mornings, I actually have to drive down the shoulder of the highway for like an entire mile because the road is backed up that badly. The shoulder is not exactly super wide either, so I'm really kind of hugging that Challenger on it. So if traffic is something that's going to be a huge annoyance to you, if that's something that you don't want to put up with, if you're coming from a small town where you just, blow through town pretty easily, then this is going to be probably a pretty big red flag for you and something that I would really take into consideration. Now, again, if you're somebody that works from home or just goes into town on their regular, or maybe, works some odd hours so that, you're not hitting that normal morning, normal evening traffic, it might not really be much of a concern for you, but I think it's definitely something worth taking into consideration. Number 4 on my list of reasons to not move to Tehaleh. This is kind of a big one. Community dynamics and reputation. Tehaleh in the greater Bonney Lake area has a shit reputation. The people of Bonney Lake really do not like Tehaleh. If you look at sort of when these master plan community really started getting built and built out, the town of Bonney Lake was considerably smaller. If you think now the town of Bonney Lake only has about 20,000 total citizens, this master plan community is planned to have over 9,500 homes, meaning more than likely Tehaleh will ultimately be bigger than Bonney Lake. And with the huge influx of people, I think that's where you've seen a lot of influx in traffic. You've had to see a lot of construction coming in due to a lot of people, moving out here. But there also is this, I think, general consensus that the people of Tehaleh are just kind of assholes inside of Bonney Lake. If you visit the Bonney Lake community group, it's like a scathing review of the people of Tehaleh. And while I love my neighbors, I do run into some Karens out here. I mean, it's a big HOA. There's definitely going to be some Karens. There's some people who think that they're better than everybody else because they live in Tehaleh. And the fact is, we do have some really cute homes and we have really cute parks, but that doesn't make anyone in this neighborhood better than anyone else by any means. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of focus either on trying to connect or rebuild that relationship. It really feels more like the people who live in Tehaleh are trying to separate themselves from Bonney Lake, and the people who've lived in Bonney Lake for a long time really just feel like Tehaleh is ruining the Bonney Lake area. It's a really unfortunate thing because Bonney Lake's a super cute town with places like Lake Taps and Sky Island, and Tehaleh is really just another offshoot, a different type of living that's just, more living in the woods, more living in nature with, 40% of all green space is protected out here. But man, there is just no kind of a good relationship between the community of Bonney Lake and the master plan community of Tehaleh. So if living in an area where you want to be super connected all throughout town is important to you, Tehaleh might not be the best bet, to be super frank with you. But if that's not something you really care about, if you're just here to do you, you're not somebody that gets plugged into the community necessarily and tries to do all that kind of stuff, then maybe it's not that big of a deal to you. Just wanted to make sure that you were aware of it before you moved out here. The last one on our list of the 5 has got to be just the general lack of amenities that Tehaleh has as you really look across the country and compare it to other master plan communities. You want a really cool, big pool to swim in? We don't got it. How about a splash pad for the kids? Don't got it. How about a golf course? Go hit some balls, right? Drive a little bit. We don't got it. In fact, Tehaleh really has such a minimal amount of amenities. It's kind of sad when you compare it to other master plan communities. We have a coffee shop. We're getting some more commercial space. We have a bunch of really beautiful parks. We have 40 miles of trails. There is one restaurant in the community, and you do have to be a member. You have to pay a fee to go eat there. And that pretty much is it. You're not gonna get a whole lot else in this master plan community. There's not a lot of golf carts cruising around for fun. There's just basically parks and trails. That is your amenities that you're paying for. Now, the opposite side to that is our HOAs out here are not very high at all. But the amenities that are here are basically targeted towards the older people. When you look at Trilogy, they have a gym, they have social clubs, they have pickup ball courts, they have all kinds of stuff out there. And yeah, I will tell you, their HOA dues out here are more expensive than what you're gonna pay in just a family type property or in a townhome, but you don't have access to it if you wanted to have it. And then when you get into Bonney Lake, you know, the main town, there's hardly any restaurants. A running joke around here is that we have a Denny's. That should tell you something. That's the level of what you have here in Bonney Lake. If you want to really do anything, you're gonna have to leave. If you want to go shopping, there's the Outlet Collection out in Auburn. That is a really great choice as far as shopping. You can hit Lake Taps if you want to get on the lake. That's between kind of the Bonney Lake, Auburn area. But if you want to have really any form of entertainment at all, if you want to go do anything, enjoy anything, you're basically going to find yourself heading to Tacoma or heading to Seattle. And that's really a big downside for living here. A lack of amenities in a master plan community is something that is kind of unforgivable in my opinion, because in a master plan community, the goal is to kind of do most stuff right here at home in your community. And when you live here in Tehaleh, that's just not an option for you. All right, well, there you have it. Those are my top 5 things to consider when moving to Tehaleh. Now, while a lot of that stuff does seem pretty sucky, Tehaleh is a beautiful, beautiful community. I love the view of Mount Rainier. I love that my kids can hang out at a coffee shop or at the parks, and I'm not concerned for their safety at all. I love that my wife can walk my kid just a little more than a quarter mile to his school and pick him up and walk him back. I love that the sense of community inside of Tehaleh is really great. My kids live kind of like it's the 90s. They ride their bikes freely. They play in the woods. And a lot of that really has been lost, especially over the last 15 years or so. So Tehaleh in and of itself, while I'll tell you those things really do bother me, it is in some ways a safe haven for families and for individuals and young professionals and retired folks and anybody who just wants to live a peaceful life in a great, great community. So whether you're looking at making your move in 3 days or 3 months, shoot us that phone call, text, or an email so we can help make that smooth move out here to Tehaleh. And until next time, I cannot wait to come out here and check this place out so we can show you around.